The key to stimulating muscle growth is the intensity of the exercise.
Experiencing pain in your muscles and then go on, and this last repetitions, that's what makes the muscle grow.
Do you want cool remote jobs like these? These contracts let me work from an oceanside penthouse. I created a focus zone for myself and buy my dream car, a manual Porsche 718 GTS, which was quite the upgrade from my earlier dream car, which was to have any car, which was a 1999 Toyota Tercel. You can find exactly these roles on this PM contract job board I just built. It features curated, high-paying project management consulting roles. Think data projects, BI projects, reporting projects, fintech projects, and AI deployment orchestration projects, which are really ramping up fast. And each pays at least $10,000 a month or more and is hybrid or remote friendly, and these are hidden from public boards. I took my decade of recruiter contracts, that's thousands of emails, and I parsed it for the recruiter list, and I hooked that channel up with Agentic AI automation. And these are fresh. As soon as a new contract hits my network, the board is updated in under 30 seconds, containing everything you might need. Contract salary figures, freshness scale, background information, so you're not wasting your time applying to scale jobs. And phone numbers and emails are right there at the bottom. So there is no headaches like, please rebuild your resume online here. You can just reach out to the headhunter directly. Now, I do recommend signing up for the instant alerts because if a job is more than 48 hours old, it is stale. So these alerts are strategic and they're totally for free. Now, what if you're not qualified for the role? Well, check out the AI agent assisted Tips by Hassan section, where there's an AI version of me that will break down exactly what's needed to get these roles. Now, a truth bomb. If you're a coder, a tactical project manager, a business analyst, or an engineer, and you're grinding through tasks like coding, spreadsheets, scheduling, status updates, AI is quietly eating these roles. And people are just waking up one day with their login gone. I built this entire job board with AI tools that gives me power of 10 developers. And for this reason, there's McKinsey's stat that predicts 50% headcount cuts by 2028. There is good news. There's 175 million new AI orchestration roles coming out. My accelerator pivots you fast and efficiently into this new area of PM consulting, future-proofing you so you can ride the trend. You can also book a free strategy session with me where I'll vet your credentials to see if you will qualify for the pivot. Good morning, Hammers. All right, Hassan here. It is time to smash a workout. It's actually Christmas Eve. Pretty nice bright day, and I got some good sleep. So that is what we shall do. All right, so quick background about this channel. The purpose of this channel is to document my bulk to 180 pounds, a goal I had set for myself in grade 10. And I gave up on it around age 18. I realized that to be a competitive bodybuilder, you needed steroids. I did not want to do that. I got to 160 for a little bit, and then I reverted back to baseline, which for me, as an ectomorph, is 130. And that is how this journey began. Then I bulked up 40 pounds. I put on 20 pounds a year for 2 years in a row. And I've been working out for longer than 2 years, I think 3.5, maybe even 4 now, although the first year was just cardio. The bulk of the changes came in the first 2 years when currently I'm working out every third day due to my training academy. I'm running my training academy, training people how to be a project manager. And that takes up, I'm at 90 hours the past 7 days. So I'm working out every third day and I put on 40 pounds of muscle so far. And the last 10 pounds is the purpose of documenting this channel. Okay, so that's the quick and dirty background. Now, how do you do it? How do you put on 40 pounds of muscle naturally as a natural athlete? Is it even possible? I used to think it was not possible, okay? Like, I really did. Now, YouTube came out, and then I started researching again. Back when I did it, there was no YouTube. And that gave me information. So here's what I found. You have to push really hard, okay? You have to go to failure. The magic happens when you induce micro tears into the muscle. Okay, so you have to push really hard using intensity techniques, which I'll cover next. Second, you need protein. Okay, your hair is made out of protein. Your nails are made out of protein. They always grow. Your muscle can grow if you put micro stress fractures in them. Don't quote me on the terminology, but what you do is you fatigue the muscle and then you take it to the maximum stretched position, okay, and then you accelerate it with a load, and you do that repeatedly for fatigue stress, and it will put little micro cracks in the muscle, and then when you ingest protein, it'll come in there, it'll rebuild it stronger, and your muscles will get bigger. Okay, genetics does play a factor because there's two things. There's the number of muscle fibers, your muscle fiber density. You could have, for example, 100 fibers per centimeter squared, or somebody else could have 200. So they would grow easier. You can't increase the total number of cells you have, but you can increase their size. Okay, so genetics does play a role. However, you can go a lot further than you think. I never thought I could put on 40 pounds. Okay, so second, you need to drink 3 protein shakes per day, each with a scoop of creatine. I would say this is absolutely required. 15 grams of creatine per day. I know that's triple the recommended dose, but I have experimented. It works very well. And it even works well to the point of giving you energy under the conditions of sleep deprivation, which is very nice side effect. Okay, so go for it. That's the second part. The third part is supersets, drop sets, lengthen partial reps, rest pauses. These are your intensity techniques. These allow you to approach failure and stay in that groove where you're plus or minus 2 reps from failure. Okay, so where the hypertrophy happens, the mechanism for muscle growth. And then lastly, you track your sets and reps and your half reps for partial reps, and you mash them or beat them next time you go in, which is very important and absolutely required. Because for bench press with 185 pounds, the 10th rep took me months to get, and had I not been tracking it, it would have never came. I would have been like 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9 indefinitely. Okay, so you got to track it. Maybe in the first year it doesn't really matter, but make my lane change. Okay, so maybe in the first year it doesn't matter. You'll grow almost no matter what you do. You'll grow almost no matter what you do, but you want to get into the habit. I put my progressive overload notes in the beginning so you can see how I do it. Once you do it once, you're just updating 1 or 2 reps. It's not like you're typing out the whole thing all over again. Okay, so that concludes hypertrophy talk. Okay, so I'm at 170 pounds. I am getting leaner, which is nice, but I have plateaued. I need to get back into the gym every other day instead of every third day, which I will work towards after the busy period of the academy wanes down. All right, so that takes care of that. Second item is, let's see, progress on the academy. I released a video called Strategy Guide to BI-FinTech and AI Deployment Project Management Consulting, and it came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So I'll share my lessons learned and what could be improved next time and strengths and all of that. After experimenting with a lot of ways to come up with what you're going to say, you could use AI. You could put all your notes into AI and be like, hey, turn this into a script, and then you read it over and over, and then you do your best to present it. And it works okay. The problem is AI changes your voice, and then when you're reading your script, it doesn't have that same effect. Okay, you can do jot notes and then AI to help you expand it. That's a viable option. Now, after doing that for a little while, I have to say I found a much better way, which is to write it by hand. Okay, now this seems like a little bit of work, but I was watching a Robert Greene interview. He wrote a book called Mastery that I talked about in the video, which I quite like. So he said he wrote the whole book by hand first, chapter by chapter, multiple times before he typed it, and it shows, right? So what I did was I went to a coffee shop. I took out my my notebook, my to-do list notebook, and I sectioned it down the middle, each page, and I sat there and I wrote. And when you write, you tap into these areas of your brain that you don't with typing or with text to speech if you're taking voice notes. And the reason for this is because a lot of your brain is actually mapped to movement motor neurons, like the articulation of your fingers, your body. A lot of that takes up a lot of volume in your brain. So when you're doing a physical activity with your hands, and actually a lot of your fingers map to a lot of your brain area because of how dexterous they are. So I have to say that it was probably my best script I have come up with yet. And the reason for that was because I hand wrote it, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. So that's a huge win. I have improved my process. I've also realized that if you are going to record 4,000 words, it will take you 4.5 hours. That's my experience. And the end video will be 1 hour long, and it will take you 2.5 hours to edit. Okay, so not including script writing. So 4.5, 5, 6. So you're looking at about 6.5, 7 hours of work. You can produce a talking head video, minimal editing. If you get into editing, it can take up a lot of time. Either you're a very skilled editor who can pull off all the transitions really quickly, or you do it like me where I skip them. I'm relying on the fact that I am passing valuable information, so I'm going to not spend as much time on the transitions and stuff because the value is in the information. So that is the data point I can share with you guys if you guys are trying to launch a training program and what have you. It'll take you approximately 7 hours to record a 50-minute video. Of course, you're going to need videos for your modules. You're going to need videos for your YouTube channel to introduce people to what you're talking about. But basically, I introduced a strategy called BI-FinTech Consulting, a type of project management consulting where you can earn $10,000 a month or more, and also AI orchestration deployment project management as an antidote to the recent trend we're seeing, which is the commoditization of intelligence via AI. Okay, now the reality of the situation is how farm tractors industrialized farm labor in the 1900s and laborers were displaced. Knowledge workers, us people who work in front of a computer, knowledge laborers, are about to be displaced by the AI tractor in 12 to 24 months. It's going to happen. 50% of job loss coming up in the white collar area, not the blue collar. Blue collar will unfortunately come in about 5 years. But for now, it'll be the white collar area. And it seems implausible, but that's what it is. So I put forward an antidote, which is AI deployment project management. And the reason for this is I make an analogy to horizontal market software versus vertical market software, where vertical market software is things like Microsoft Word, where you just install it once and you distribute it to millions of people. Horizontal market software is business to business software and is built painstakingly, one feature at a time, as a dance between the client side project manager and the software vendor side project manager and their respective technical teams, all hashing it out with a team of BAs, subject matter experts, all going at it, eliciting requirements and so forth. And let me just accelerate here so I don't get more people. Yeah, so all going at it, and one feature at a time, they create the software to match the anatomy of the business. So if you think about fintech and banking, you could have an online portal and it maps to the anatomy of that business. It could have 10 business units. They'll require 10 areas of the software. I'm simplifying it. But if they have like an asset management arm, that will have its own software. If they have a securities arm, that will have its own software. And, you know, there are vendors involved, but it's still customized to that. So I draw the parallel that I call it Hammer's Law, and that's my law. I came up with that. Basically, when technologies change, it offers you a leverage point. A better technology gives you much more leverage than an older technology, and a master of the previous era who may have had 10 years of experience can be displaced by a new person who is using a new tool with greater leverage. Okay, let me give you an example. Cloud computing, network engineering versus cloud computing. Cloud architects came out, and things like scaling up virtual machine systems, scaling down, distributing load balancers, all of that took over network topologies and port forwarding and Cisco and all of that. So you may have had 30 years, maybe not 30, you may have 20 years of, Cisco expertise, but If you didn't know what things like Azure Front Door were, or load balancer, or what Amazon's equivalent of their, I'm not well versed with Amazon cloud technologies, more Microsoft, because that's what enterprise use. But if you didn't know that, then you would experience job erosion on your side. Then the other trend I noticed was with VBA macro scripters that would integrate large quantities of data, where you would need upstream data control. You'd put a script together and you would integrate data. The example I gave is a restaurant with 1,000 restaurants, all with the point of sale system. And to crunch numbers, it would have to go to an analyst. All of the stores send in their Excel files. Now, with data integration technologies such as data warehousing, Power BI, Tableau, and so forth, you can do it instantly. And you may have had 10 years of experience with what's it called? It's getting too hot in here. You may have had 10 years of experience with VBA scripting, a very difficult subject matter, and someone can beat you now in 2 weeks if they knew Power BI inside out, which was my experience when I created the PPM software for a trade settling company. And it's mind-blowing, but that is Hammer's Law, and it gives you an opportunity to squeeze into an industry. So at the same time we're experiencing job loss, we are facing a situation where 175 million new jobs will be created for AI orchestrators and project managers who work in this domain. Okay, so this creates an opportunity. It gives you leverage. If you know these new technologies, a bunch of traffic. If you know these new technologies, then you can displace masters of the old. That is the strategy that I put forward. I know I'm talking quickly because I have to get to the gym, but I'll tell you guys a summary version of it. Now, the parallel to vertical market software versus horizontal market software, the same thing is happening again with agentic AI technology. It's not like you create it with Microsoft Word and you just install it everywhere. Every organization has unique roles, processes, and products where agentic AI needs to be customized specifically for their experience. So I have my agentic AI job board, which connects to my inbox. It examines my inbox for recruiter emails over the past 10 years or so. And then it pulls the data, it organizes it. We have an API, it goes to XAI for Grok. I send the whole job description to Grok, and then I tell Grok, hey, please summarize the job description. Please look at my course outline, put forward a strategy of how to map the course outline with what the job is saying, and then pull the recruiter information and put it at the bottom. Now, that is very customized to my use case because I have 5 nodes, and it's not like I can just go online and be like, hey, click buy, and I have the solution. You need expertise with project management, business analysts, and AI orchestrators, again, to implement this. So although we are facing a situation with job erosion, there is a silver lining in this scenario, which is if you upgrade yourself, you can use the ebb and flow of technology, which will offer you leverage by knowing AI domain, to squeeze in and displace masters of the old. So that's what I'm instructing my students. First, you learn from a project management perspective if you're trying to target high value jobs like $10,000 to $18,000 a month. Well, first, you're going to have to learn foundations. So that's business intelligence, finance technology, project management consulting. Think data engineering, data warehousing, working with a team of data engineers and software developers to create data products and reporting software for organizations. Extremely common project nowadays. Before it was cloud computing projects, infrastructure projects, and so on. So first, you learn that inside out. You need 3 methodologies. You need Waterfall, you need Agile, you need product management. You need to know how they interact because Waterfall is linear. By the time you make it to the end, a year has passed, the specifications have changed, the bugs have strayed, and it takes a long time to rework. So Agile came out where you can do it in 2-week sprints, and you do mini 2-week projects in 2-week sprints, and then you demo it to the customer, which gives you a feedback loop, which prevents the drift problem from Waterfall. But now you are facing the situation where People are just doing features for the sake of features. 95% of features go unused. So you're actually a feature factory that is not providing value, which brings about product management, which is a hypothesis-led approach where you go to the client, you ask them which feature they're using, and you use that as part of your feedback loop while you're doing the sprints. Once you can put all of that together, then you know the foundations. So it's a bit tricky, but that's what I instructed students, and that's what I teach in the course. After that, you learn AI orchestration, deployment, project management, things like implementing AI agentic nodes, also custom models for AI, buy versus build decisions, and so on. So that's the basic of the strategy. It's a 1 hour video. I'm not going to be able to tell it to you all over here, but you can go check it out. Okay, now I think I will conclude the rant over there. I will get to my gym, but that is the update on the exercise. That is the update on the academy direction. And look, you know, I feel it's Christmas Eve. I feel pretty blessed to be in the situation that I'm in now, because I get to work on an academy and train project managers. But you know, it wasn't always like this. I probably worked 30 jobs before I got here. My first job was like a paper boy for like a really poor sum of money, and I missed my turn, so let me just U-turn. And then after that, it was like I had a car wash job at 1/3 minimum wage, washing cars in Canadian cold, you know. So it was actually a fun job. We had a cubicle with the heater and all of that. But luckily, my dad motivated me to get my computer certification in grade 7, and I became a laptop repair expert. So I was able to make pretty good earnings because of that. But you know, it didn't always start that way. We came to Canada in 1997 from Saudi Arabia, and we were sharing a small apartment with another family. It was like 12 people to a 2-bedroom place. So I get it. You start wherever you're starting, and then you take one step at a time, and slowly but surely you do make progress. And it feels amazing when you do. Okay, and I'll put a timestamp because sometimes I just like to rant. Now, another thing is I hit 91 hours this week, and it feels pretty amazing because I always wanted to be in a situation where I can do at least 90 hours. I wanted to match Elon Musk's productivity for at least once in my life, and finally I have done it. I have hit 90 hours. Now, he says 90 hours is baseline, and that's my all-time best, so of course I'm not going to say I am as productive, but there are some extreme mindsets which you can apply using these techniques. So let's see. This one's going to be a little bit more on the dark side, but I'll share it. So Enzo Ferrari, okay, so he was a true obsessive. He worked from age 18 till 90 with the singular purpose of, I want to build the fastest engine and then I want to die. And he held true to that. He worked till he couldn't walk anymore. That's when he stopped at the age of 90. And he was obsessed with racing and obsessed with winning. And I too am very competitive. It gives you a spark of life instead of just steady state activities. You can compete with yourself, you know. I'm not saying you have to be mean or anything like that, right? But Enzo Ferrari would say, a driver with a slower car can always beat a driver with a faster car if he's willing to die on the racetrack, as long as he makes it to the end of the race. Think about that, okay? If you're fearless, you have a slower car, you can beat a driver with the faster car as long as you can make it to the end of the race. Likewise, if you're working 90 hours a week, if somebody is twice as smart as me and they're working 40 hours a week and I'm working 90, I'll still beat them. A person in a slower car will beat a person in a faster car as long as they make it to the end of the finish line. Okay, now I know that's extreme, but it's fun. If you push your body in this fashion, it becomes addictive. And that is my performance update for this week. So how does that feel? Well, today I got good sleep, but the 2 days before that, or the 3 days, it was just like 4 hours. Your brain doesn't exactly turn off. So I went from drinking 4 coffees a day and being wired to drinking 0 coffees a day and still being wired. So your brain kind of doesn't turn off. You're permanently stuck in the attack mode instead of the what's it called? Rest and digest versus fight or flight. You want to be in the fight or flight mode when you're working, and eventually you want to turn off. You want to kick in the rest and digest mode. But when you're so locked in, that mode just doesn't kick in, and what happens is eventually your central nervous system just it starts getting fatigued. So you're sitting there and your breathing starts getting labored, and you have to take a 10-minute nap, but you can't sleep because you're so wired. I know all of this is pretty extreme, but I'm sharing what it is like to actually do those sorts of things. And if you enjoy pushing yourself, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you don't, you probably think I'm crazy. But with all that being said, I'll definitely put timestamps and so you guys can skip ahead to the workout. And I shall pull into the gym and we will do an arm workout. I will see you guys inside. All right, time to start. So I've done some stretches and now my new warm up is 20 reps with 2 plates. So my theory is if I warm up like this with legs, just one set, it will increase testosterone and it should help me get to the last 10 pounds of my 50-pound bulk that I'm after. So that is the plan. Take a rest pause. This is harder because I have to take 5 days off because of overtraining before last session. Take a rest pause. Basically, last week I added stair sprints, so I was working out 7 days a week again. And with my reduced sleep schedule, I got to a point where my resting heart rate went to 100 throughout the day and wouldn't come down, as which integrates, which is the hallmark of overtraining. So I backed off for about 5 days. Now I'm back at it. Oh, that's 18. 2 more. All right, sweet. Time for pull-ups. All right, so up next is 1 set of pull-ups, maximum reps, still failure, and partials afterwards. So I made this a habit to do a set of pull-ups before my workouts, except on back days because I'm going to work it out anyways. And that's how I was able to get my pull-ups pretty good. Okay, so that's the plan. Take a rest pause. One more. And partials. All right, sweet. All right, time for shoulders. Time to start the arm workout. So set number 1 is ignition set, also known as pre-exhaustion set. And it's 20 reps with 20 pounds to get the muscle pre-fatigued for the working set. All right, shoulder side laterals, working set number 1 of 2. 30 pounds, drop set it to 20 pounds, 16 reps, then 16 partials, and then repeat it the same with the 20 pounds. Taking rest pauses as needed. All right, that's 16 reps and 16 partials. All right, drop set. And repeat. All right, that's 9. I'm going to take a rest pause. Just about a 5-second rest pause. Just enough to let some of that lactic acid burn disappear. And then partials. All right, that's set 1 of 2, working set 1 of 2. 1 more to go. All right, working set 2 of 2. Same exact thing, but this time 17 plus 13, and then 13 plus 13 on the drop set. Rest pauses as needed to stay near the failure zone. All right, that's 17, 13 partials. These rest pauses are super effective, especially when you combine them with drop sets. Okay, 13 plus 13. Okay, I'm gonna take a rest pause. I'm straddling the line of working 12 to 14 hours, sleeping 5.5 hours, and still trying to meet my reps. And I'd have to say, what I notice is my cardiovascular system is taxed from all of this. That's probably what's affected the most. All right, that's 5 so far. Excuse me. That's 10. That's 5. When I was in night owl mode, I could get proper 8 hours of rest. Now that I've switched to daytime mode, I'm struggling with the sleep, and the overtraining kicks in fast. So maybe I'll go back to night owl mode. All right, that's it. That's it for shoulders. We're gonna do triceps. Set it to 27.5. Do about 8 reps, nice and clean. All right, one more. I know they don't seem like much, but they get you beyond failure, so they are. They're good. All right. I'm gonna have to just do partials. All right, so that's it for behind the back. All right, tricep pushdowns. So I call this one I call it throwing the kitchen sink at it, because 88 pounds, and I'm going 7 levels down by skipping 1 plate. So it'll be a 7-level drop set. And what this does is it keeps you near the zone of failure for every single. Highly effective. All right, that's one. Drop set. Take a 5-second rest pause. Five more section rest pause. Drop set. Triceps really starting to wake up now. drop set. So 7 levels, about 3 sets per level, about 20 reps. They're pretty much roasted now, but for the sake of completion, we just keep going. Drop set, 2 more levels to go. All right, mentally preparing myself to go straight to the calf raise. These lighter weights, because otherwise they become too light. Straight into it. Partials times 50. That's 30. All right, we have thrown the time for calves. All right, we're gonna sneak in some calves. I usually do this in the beginning, depending on how busy the calf machine is. Surprisingly, it's one of the busier machines. I thought nobody used it when I didn't train calves. I've been training them for about 7 months now. So same technique as before with my other exercises. The um, first exercise is a ignition set. So I'm using 40 pounds. I'm gonna do about 20 reps. Now with this one, the stretch is really important. So I make sure I start at the stretch, and when it really burns, then I start the first rep. My calves actually grew a lot. I know it doesn't seem like I should have authority to speak on calves, considering how small mine are, but they actually did grow a lot. Finding the stretch, up slowly. All right, they're at failure. Switch to partials. All right, working set. 1 minute and 30 seconds later. I do time all my rest periods. It's gonna be a 7-level drop set. 1 working set. Partials. All right, drop set. Partials. I know, only 1 or 2 reps, but they're highly effective. 0 junk volume here. If you look at Jeff Nipper's video of junk volume, it's really good. Right, keep going, 4 more levels. This is going where I feel at this point. Finding the pain. Two more out levels. These are going to be partial heavy. All right, they are effectively fully destroyed. All right, sweet. Time for biceps. Next is barbell bicep curl. Relatively straightforward. Full reps till failure, and then partial reps. I'm going for 10 plus 6. Two more. I upped it from 80 pounds to 85. That's where I'm struggling. All right, 6 partials. All right, one more. 6 plus 7, and then 5 plus 5 on the drop side. This one is a drop side. Right, partials. Okay. Drops at 20 pounds. So we are at 65 pounds now. We'll finish it off with 5 plus 5. And we're done the workout. All right, 5 partials. All right, sweet. Time for a pump check. All right, time for pump check. Pretty good work. Yeah, nice and efficient. quick and then get back to my work. My phone actually broke. This folding phone. While I was holding it, the inner screen just like disintegrated from the inside. So Google's sending me another one, Google Pixel. I think I'll just sell it because this is the second one in 3 months that I've had a factory defect. All right, thanks for joining me. I think that was workout number 47, Christmas Eve workout. Solid workout. I'll see you guys for legs. That'll be war. We're gonna push hard, so I'll see you guys.
The key to stimulating muscle growth is the intensity of the exercise.
Experiencing pain in your muscles and then go on, and this last repetitions, that's what makes the muscle grow.